Hey loves, welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for tuning in. On today's tutorial, I'll be sharing with you on how I made this halter neck backless dress. This was very easy to make. This is also very beautiful and perfect for everyday wear, and it can be made in a longer version too. So these are the measurements you will be needing. And for this, I made use of an Ankara fabric, which is 45 inches by length. If you want yours longer, you can make use of a fabric that measures 60 inches by length. So let's get right into it. I'm going to go ahead and fold my fabric, and I'm folding in a bias form. To do that, I'll be picking one edge of the fabric and then I'll be turning it to the other edge in a triangular form. And that is how you fold your fabric in a bias form. For anyone that did not understand, I'm going to be explaining this well with a pattern paper. So let's assume that this is your fabric, this is the length and the width. So you place it this way, and to fold it, I am just going to take one edge of the fabric and then I would place it to the other edge in this way. So it's going to form a little bit of triangle, and that is how to fold your fabric in a bias form. I'm going to do it again to make it clear for anyone that hasn't gotten it yet. So you just turn one edge to the other edge in a triangular form, and that is it. So I'm going to be cutting the front piece first, and then afterwards I'll use the front piece to cut the back piece. And to do that, I'm going to be marking my shoulder measurements. My shoulder measurement divided by 2 is 8 inches. And on that point, I'm going to be looking for where I'm going to locate and mark on the fabric. I'm going to mark 8 inches on the fabric like you see me doing. And then after marking, I'm going to connect that into a straight line with my ruler. And then from that line, I'm going to go up by 1.5 inch, which is going to be for the drawstring casing. And then I connect it into a straight line as well. So the next thing is to mark the length of our dress, and I'm going to do that by placing my tape on the shoulder line, and I'm going to be marking it like so. So at this point, you mark the desired length of your dress. But like I mentioned earlier, if you want yours to be longer, please make sure to use a fabric that measures 60 inches by length, or if you are going to use an Ankara fabric that measures 45 by length, you would have to join it by the edge. So after marking that, I'm going to go ahead to cut out my front piece like so, and that is it for our front piece. I'm going to go ahead and fold another fabric for the back piece as well. But before going ahead to cut out our back piece, I'm going to, from the shoulder, I'm going to come down by 14 inches and I'm going to mark that, and then I will notch it. I will explain better when I cut the back piece. So now I folded my fabric, the second fabric, in a bias form like I did for the first, and then I place the front piece on top, and I'm going ahead to cut it like so. So you remember that from on the front piece I went down by 14 inches from the shoulder. That is how deep or how I want the back to extend, or how open I want the back to be. If you want yours to go deeper, maybe to the waist, you can make yours 17 inches or 18 inches. But if you notice, mine stopped at my waist. So I already notched that at the back piece, and then I'm going to measure what I have there. From that point, from the beginning of the triangle, I'm going to measure what I have there, and I'm going to mark it round on the fabric like you see me doing. And then after, I went to connect it and to make the line visible. From there, I'm also going to go up by 1.5 inch. This is going to be for the elastic casing, and then I'll connect that to make it more visible, and then I'll go ahead and cut that out. So after cutting, next I'm going to take this to the sewing machine, and I'm going to sew it like so. I'm going to close it up like so to make the casing where my elastic is going to pass, using the 1.5 inch that I added. And then for the front piece as well, I am going to fold the drawstring casing, and then after folding, this is what I have. I also did that for the front. So to determine the length of the elastic that you'll be using, I will measure what I have. This is the back piece, and I folded into two, so I measure the roundness. What I have there is 18, so meaning that the roundness is 36 inches. So I'm going to divide 36 inches divided by 3 is 12 inches. So the length of the elastic that I'll be using is 12. And then I'm going to go ahead to measure that, and that is what I'm going to be passing on that elastic casing. So after I was done cutting my elastic casing, I'm going to pass it through using this equipment. You can pass through yours using a safety pin, and then when I got to the edge, I took it to my sewing machine to sew it down. You can also use a pin to hold it in place while you keep on passing it. So I'm going to sew it down, and then I will keep passing my elastic until I get to the other end. And when I get to the other end as well, I'll take it to the sewing machine to sew it down. So, and after I was done sewing, this is what it looks like. I'm going to take this aside and then work on the front piece. And next is to work on the drawstring. So for the drawstring, I'm just going to cut out a piece of fabric about 2 inches in wideness, and for the length, depending on how long you want, you can just cut to your desired length. So that is exactly what I am doing. And then this is it. I'm going to take this to my sewing machine. I'll fold one edge by 1/2 inch like so, fold the other edge by 1/2 inch, and then I would join together and sew it like so. After sewing it, this is what we have. So the next is I'm going to pass this on through the front piece casing that we've already sewn earlier. So I'm just going to pass this just the way I passed my elastic on the back piece. That's exactly how I will do for the front piece as well, to form a little bit of gathers at the neckline. So, and this is what we have afterwards. So the next is to join the two pieces together, to join the front and the back piece together. So I'm going to place it like so, making sure that the lengths are aligned at the hem. And then I'm going to take this to my sewing machine. I will sew that end like this, and then sew the other end. I'll also hem the upper part of the front piece. I would close it up neatly like this. I'll do that for the both edges, and I'll stop at just before where the drawstring casing started. I will also go ahead to hem the dress by folding it like this. So after joining, this is what we have. That is it basically for making this dress. It was so easy to make, it didn't take time. You don't need a lot of work, you don't need a pattern, you don't need a lot of work to draft this. If you're watched to this point and you love the video, please don't forget to give it a thumbs up. Don't also forget to subscribe if you are yet to subscribe. Hit the notification bell so you get notified anytime I post a new tutorial. And thank you so much for watching. If you watched to this point, see you on my next video. Thank you and bye.